Congratulations, you just got a phone interview, and double congratulations because phone interviews are the easiest interviews to pass because they can't see you, which means you get to have your notes. But in this video, I'm going to cover the key things that you need to know so that you can cheat properly and pass your phone interview. Well, first, let's talk about what a phone interview really means. Typically, the phone interview is going to be with the recruiter or the hiring manager as an initial screen to make sure that you are, at a minimum, a good fit for the role. And they're also going to want to make sure that everything you put on your resume is accurate and true and you did not lie or over-embellish on your accomplishments. So in order to do this, this means you need to be able to explain and defend every single bullet that is on your resume. So I recommend that you take all of the bullets or your accomplishments on your resume, put it into a spreadsheet or a Word document, and then turn them all into star stories using the star format. Now, if you don't know what the star format is, I have a whole video up right here, but you make sure that you can cover the situation, the task, the actions, and the result of how you were able to achieve those things that you put on your resume that you claim that you have done. Now, if your resume is pretty long, you only really need to focus on your more recent and relevant accomplishments. So you probably don't need to have your star stories for stuff you did 5 to 10 years ago. Focus more on the recent and relevant things for the role. Now, speaking of relevant things for the role, how do you know what accomplishments that you should be talking about when they ask you to walk them through your resume? Well, first, you should ask them to give you additional context on the position. Things like, what are the immediate projects that you would hypothetically be working on? Or is there a skills gap or something that's missing on the team that this manager is looking to fill? Or is there a particular skill set that is really important and critical for the role versus things that are just nice to have that may be listed on the job description but not actually required? Then you're going to use this information to pick and choose the specific skills and projects to highlight in your background to show them that you are the perfect fit for the role. Now, because it's a phone interview, this is usually your first screening, which means the questions are generally a little bit easier. And so easier questions tend to be those like behavioral questions using the STAR method, or research-based questions like tell me about yourself, why do you want to work here, why should we hire you, what are some of your strengths and weaknesses, what are your compensation expectations, and then gathering other general recruiting information. But of course, if you do have a phone interview with the hiring manager, make sure you ask the recruiter what kind of questions to expect and what topics are typically covered. All right, so now let's talk about how to actually cheat in a phone interview. So obviously you can have your notes with you because they can't see what you're looking at, but that does add an extra element of preparation that you need to have. First of all, you should only have one page of notes. You don't want to be flipping through pages like this because you can hear the ruffling of the papers. So they're going to know that you are referencing a document and that you are cheating. Next, you're going to need to make sure that you answer questions immediately. If you are stalling or taking too long to answer your question, they're going to know that you're referencing some document and trying to read something, or maybe you could be scrolling through your computer trying to find the right story to tell. So on a phone interview, your answers still need to be fast. In fact, they need to be a lot faster than if you were doing a video or in-person interview. That way, there's no worry from the interviewer that you're potentially cheating. Now, if you do need to stall for a bit of time, you can either do a cough, or you can ask them for a second just so you can drink some water. But you can really only do this one time in your phone interview. You can't do this after every question to buy yourself more time, which still means you're going to need to study and prepare for these phone interviews, even though you have notes and you can reference things on a computer. Now, most importantly, I can tell you that how you talk and how you answer the interview question will also tell the interviewer if you are cheating or reading something. We've been catching people at my company who are using those AI chatbots in order to cheat on their interviews because whenever you're reading something for the first time, either you may not be using natural language. Here's an example. Furthermore, I concluded that this minute discrepancy was actually a byproduct of upstream dependencies formulated by an elephantine process inadequacy. Or if you're reading something for the very first time, like maybe your answer is generated by ChatGPT or something, it's not going to sound fluent when you're reading it because whenever you read something for the first time, it's not going to sound natural. Now, another way that they can actually tell if you're cheating during your phone interview is if you don't answer the complete question, or if you choose an example or share a story that kind of answers the question, but doesn't directly answer what they're looking for. So for example, I was in an interview once and I asked the candidate, tell me about a time where you had an idea that you wanted to implement at your job, but you faced some resistance and how you overcame it. And then they told me a story about how they had a conflict or a problem with their coworker and how they had a disagreement over something. So it didn't really answer the question because I wanted them to talk about an idea that they had that people didn't initially believe in and then how they got to implement implemented later, not a disagreement or a problem that they had with their coworker, which was clearly the rehearsed and practiced answer that they had memorized. The next tip for your phone interview is that you should subscribe to this YouTube channel because I post weekly career videos where I give you free advice on how to advance your career and find happiness at work. Okay, the next tip for your phone interview is that you should verbalize and tell them if you need time in order to think or to answer a question. Because if you just leave it in silence, they're not going to know what's actually happening. They may think that you got disconnected, or they may think that you're cheating and reading something or looking at a document. So make sure you are verbalizing when you need time to think. The next tip is to make sure that you smile when you answer your interview questions. Now, I know they can't see you, but you'll notice a difference in your voice and the inflection when you're smiling because it's actually going to make you sound a lot more confident. And the next tip is after every phone interview, make sure you write down all of the questions that you were asked and the answers or examples that you gave to those questions. That way, if you do get rejected and you don't move on to the next round, you'll know that at least one or two of those interview answers that you gave are not perfect and need to be improved. Also, if you start to catalog and document and inventory all of the interview questions that you get as you continue to do interviews for the same role, you're going to have this awesome question bank of interview questions that you can practice. And as you do more interviews, you'll realize that the companies ask the same ones in different versions. And this is going to make sure that you have the best possible answers so you can get multiple job offers and then choose the offer that's best for you. And if you want to know how to negotiate between multiple job offers and maximize your salary, you're going to want to watch this video right over here. Thank you all for watching and good luck in your phone interviews, and don't be afraid to shake things up now that you know how to ace them.